What a header! Oh, what an absolute cracker from Harvey Barnes! Oh, there's magic in that right boot.
You're listening to Extra Time, live on LCFC Radio. Your place for all the reaction to the weekend's football.
Welcome to Extra Time here on LCFC Radio. With me, Dan Bates, Matt Elliott and Steve Walsh. Over the course of the next hour, we'll look back at that disappointing defeat at home to West Ham United. We'll hear from Brendan Rodgers, Harvey Barnes and Wesley Fofana. We'll look ahead to the Europa League and the draw that Leicester have got. We'll also look at the Premier League monthly awards that a number of the Leicester players and management are involved in. And we'll look at the other results that took place at the weekend, because certainly the result here wasn't the only shot of the weekend. But we will start, unfortunately, Matt, with the game here at King Power Stadium yesterday. You were on co-commentary, weren't you? And it was a bitterly disappointing afternoon.
Yeah, it certainly was. And as you say, if not a shock, certainly a big surprise, wasn't it? But thankfully, we've got a good few other things to talk about. As is usually the case, you know, there's plenty going on, isn't there, one way or another, in and around Leicester City, and lots to look forward to despite that result, and lots to look back on. In good favour, because the start of the season, generally, there have been downsides, of course, going out of the Carabao Cup and the defeat yesterday against West Ham being two very prominent ones. But generally, nice positive start, plenty of good things to speak about. But the game yesterday, I think like I say, thankfully we've got other things to talk about, because it is almost one of those. You don't want to sweep under the carpet, but there's things that you want to forget about it to an extent, but learn the lessons from what did go wrong. And I don't know. I mean, you can look and analyse it and think. I think the two basic things, really any sort of way of explaining it was, pretty basic, really. West Ham were excellent. I think first and foremost, we've got to be mindful of that. They were physical, weren't they? They looked well set up. They had a good game plan, good individuals within the framework as well. Good performances throughout. And too much for Leicester on the day. I think Leicester would have had to have played very well to actually get something out of that game, on most occasions. But they were way off it, weren't they? And I think, how do you actually explain that? And I don't know. I think it must just be the easiest explanation for me is just a lack of focus, really. I'm sure, in the preparation, they'll say they did exactly the right things, and they said the right things after the win against Man City. They said, right, this is a great platform to build our season on, but we need to, Kasper Schmeichel, I can vividly remember saying it, but we need to go and make our mark and develop this from next week, against West Ham. One thing saying it, another thing doing it. But the performance didn't really confirm that, did it, really? It didn't show that, because it was all a little bit lightweight and light-hearted and a bit wishy-washy, wasn't it? And, question marks about applying the same system, maybe, for a different type of game. Lots of plaudits for the approach against Man City, where it worked to a T. Leicester have tried similar tactics before and haven't been able to execute them. So, I think while that praise was deserved against Man City, it has to be sort of tempered by how you go forward, really. But whichever system he applied, individuals didn't play to their normal levels. Now, I don't know. I mean, Walsh will have I don't know, he'll have his view, and everyone's got their view. Back in our day, sometimes you fought for all intents and purposes. We were up for it, didn't we, sometimes? And it just didn't happen. And it looks like we'd taken our eye off the ball, but we couldn't really explain it. And occasionally it happens, but you can't afford for that to happen again and spoil what has been a great start. And I don't know, I suppose if the players are absolutely honest, they probably didn't get themselves as psyched up as much as they did against Man City. And application is huge. It doesn't matter how much ability you've got or not got, it's the application, get the basics right and the rest follows. I don't know. Everything came up short, didn't it, yesterday?
Yeah, can you also just put it down, Walshy, to being just an off day as well? Every team, no matter what the level, always have
I wouldn't put it down
days.
just as an off day.
It's a bit easy to say that, isn't it? But it was.
It's
as
a
well,
difficult, when you analyse this now. For me, there was errors, obviously. The intensity didn't seem there like they have been of normal. It could have gone differently, but you always gauge it off. The first goal was disappointing, and it gives a team that momentum for me. I think we gave West Ham that momentum, and they never looked back from that. It was annoying, and you could see that the manager and players are hurt by this. It spoilt the weekend and everybody else's, but you've got to analyse it and look at and see, because our team's going to look at that and say, right, look what West Ham did. We'll do that. We'll have a look at. We'll play Leicester. We'll try and. So they're going to have to work out. And I'm guessing, Brendan will be working and training on how to counteract this. But Antonio was a handful on the day. He was big. He was strong. We said before the game that he's a player to watch, in a sense of not getting too tight with him, and he can roll you, and just using his power and his pace. He seemed to just, we switched off. And that first goal was give him that platform. I felt. James Justin didn't get in quick enough to cover Soyuncu, really. Soyuncu should have looked over his shoulder to see where he is and said, that's my man, I'm marking him, and it happened. It's happened once or twice, this, where the people are ball watching and not looking where the men are. And I thought that gave them that platform to go on and win the game, I thought. But it could have been a bit different. Vardy early on started quite well, them pockets. But other than that, he was never in the game. You look at it from a defensive point of view, that which was so solid normally, and we were all over the place, and we just didn't have that I don't know. It was just that intensity wasn't there, and it's purely, you look back and think, we cost ourselves really by a couple of mistakes. And listen, hold your hand up to West Ham. They've come and done a job like we did against Man City.
And they actually played really well, didn't they, West Ham?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, you can't take that away from them. But, it wasn't the usual Leicester. James Justin, he started and little passes were going astray. It wasn't like us at all. And it happened. Perez as well, giving the ball away, trying little things. They weren't coming off, intercepted all the time, and it gave West Ham that platform, like I said, and they played through us in the end. And we left gaps and holes, and one big ball over the top shouldn't be beating anyone, and it did. On a different day, we could have had a bit more luck. But they deserve to win, and I think Brendan's held his hand up and said that, and you could see the hurt in his face in the interview after the game, and everybody else, and they'll be working hard now. They've obviously got time to look at things, analyse. But although you've got a lot of players going on international duty now, so it's going to be difficult. He's going to have a lot of players away.
Sorry, I thought you finished there. But I think just one little thing where there's definitely a question mark from my point of view, at least, is the application of the back three, like when to play it, and how adept they are at it in certain situations. I think it's definitely merited, warranted. For instance, Man City away, you can see that. At home, against, in brackets, inverted commas, lesser opposition than maybe the top teams in the league, and West Ham played like a top team, in fairness. Played very well, or certainly stuck to their plan well. But I'm not sure how comfortable they are. It's one thing sitting back as a 3/5. It's good, makes common sense. You've got that extra player as an insurance. But when you're going forward, like we spoke about the wing backs, there was an emphasis on them to get forward and produce the width, because Barnes and Perez were exceptionally narrow. I thought they were even more so than normal. They were in a little triangle around Vardy, weren't they? And play was all too condensed, I thought, on the day. But then it leaves the back three, centre halves, literally as a back three. And West Ham were getting at them. And literally every time they attacked, Leicester looked stretched, didn't they? And they didn't. You could say the first goal. Soyuncu got a bit tight, right? He had a little tussle with Antonio. Actually came off second best, and he was still frustrated at the decision being given against him and the fact that he had been brushed out of a challenge. And that was in his mind. And then before he knew it, everyone else switched off, but the ball was switched across. Cross came in, and he said, "Oh, yeah, hang on a minute. He should have been sharper in his mind and brushed that off. Never mind the challenge. Forgotten about it, done his job. But also in a back four, Justin is in that full-back position. Maybe he can tighten up, narrow up. But in a wing-back position, you're a little bit more advanced, aren't you, naturally? And he was making his way back, so...
We never gave that width, did he, with Perez? But,
No, but the second goal as well. I mean, the long pump over there. I think everyone's sort of watching the ball a little bit and then watched the run of Fornals. But I think they're just more accustomed to. In a back four, they'd think, right, that's my area. When you've got three of us, sometimes you all do half a job. They'll be like, Marty might be thinking, Evans is going to get that. Evans thinking, Marty's getting it. And neither of them go there. And Fornals nips in, bang.
Yeah, and did well again.
Bits and pieces, There's lots of things you can look at. But
if you're listening in on Twitter, on Facebook, do get your comments in. We'll do our best to read out some of the best ones. Peter McIntosh says, "Bad day at the office. Get over it. This is LCFC, the biggest roller coaster in the world." And I think that sums it up pretty well.
It always has been since I arrived in 1986, I can tell you. But you just don't know what's going to happen next. But I think the expectation was too high, maybe, looking back. But it was a game that everyone thought we were going to win. And you know what football's like. Everyone does. And we've seen it over the weekend with Liverpool, with Man United. And when you think it ain't that bad, really. But, you don't like being stuffed at home. And in a sense, West Ham could have, run a couple more goals in. But by then, we just had to go for things. And, when you look back at Marty, the injury, and there was a tackle on Vardy that could have been a red card. Maybe not. I'm going too nice these days. And Harvey Barnes' goal. When you look back on that on Sky, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? How tight that is. It's just a little shot.
There's little lessons. I mean, they spoke about lessons to be learned, and it's easy to say that, and you hear players say it a lot. How much do you need to learn? You know what it takes to provide a good performance. They've done that numerous times, but I suppose Brendan Rodgers has looked at it as well, going, okay. All right, but he even mentioned, didn't he, we need to be, we're not a good enough team to not be at our best on our A game, if you like, to get results. Anything less than that, if the application levels drop, they're not an amazing enough side at this moment in time, to cruise through games and get results. They need to be intensity levels. Everyone talks about it all the time. They know what it takes, but it's getting that. It's hard to actually define it. If there was a magic potion for it, all managers would give it to their players. But how to make that standard of performance that they can produce, make that the norm. But that's you develop.
I'm quite encouraged by the whole start. Let's not take away from.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. So
we'll talk about that. Hold that thought,
consistency is the key, isn't it?
Let's hear from
it is.
Let's hear from Brendan Rodgers. We'll talk about that consistency and the start in general in just a moment. But let's hear from Brendan Rodgers, who was asked if he was disappointed with the result.
Yeah, exactly that. I felt that from the first whistle, we had some good moments in the first half, but I think firstly defensively we weren't aggressive enough. I felt that I said to the players at half time that we needed to get in contention. We're about aggression and getting up to people, and especially when they defend deep and their game plan is to break out of pressure, you have to be really good in counter press, and we were nowhere near it at that in that aspect. So that gave them opportunities to break out. We still had good moments in the first half where we played through them, but we just lacked the quality in the final pass to make it count. So, and then we give away 2 disappointing goals from our perspective. A bit better second half, a little bit more control, but again, didn't create anywhere near what we'd want until probably the last 5-10 minutes or so. But we got what we deserved. We didn't play well, and as well as we have done in the 3 games, this was not so good performance.
Is there an element that West Ham did to you what you did to Manchester City last week?
Not really. I think it's one you can't complain about the tactics of the other team. I think that they set up to deny us space in behind clearly, so we have to deal with that. And we had enough of the ball to create opportunities, But we lacked the precision in our pass and gave it away so easily. And technically, the ball, it was going out of play, and with our touch and everything. So from that aspect, we made it really difficult for ourselves.
You go into the first international break though, very good start, 3 wins from 4.
Yeah, it's a good start, and that won't overshadow today. I think we'll go away and analyse the performance today, see where we could have been better. But it's clear in the game, and obviously thinking about the game even now, we weren't aggressive enough, and that there. If you're not aggressive enough defensively, fundamentally that affects our attacking play. So yeah, a good start for us, an opportunity to have made a great start, but it's okay. It's gone. We'll be better when we get back, and another good lesson for the players.
Never a great time for an international break, but more so after a defeat. Do you want to spend time with the players?
Yeah, but it is what it is. We knew that. If we had the chance to win the game, we didn't. So they'll split up, they'll go away, hopefully come back safe and healthy, and then we'll look forward to a real exciting run of games.
Speaking of healthy, Daniel Amartey came off late on. Is he okay?
Yeah, it looks like he's hamstring. Looks like he's hamstring, but we'll get confirmation in the next couple of days.
The voice of Brendan Rodgers there, speaking to John Dunn and LCFC TV. Patricia Cullen on Facebook says Brendan Rodgers calls it as honest as the day is long. You could see the hurt in his face yesterday. They need to learn from this and be up for every game from start to finish. And Jane says, I was nervous that it would go pear-shaped after the high of last week. It somehow felt inevitable that would happen. And I think that's probably, Matt, the frustration. You alluded to it just a moment ago about how good the start has been this season. 3 wins from 3. Yes, I know that Leicester went out of the Carabao Cup, both Arsenal and Leicester playing weakened teams. But the frustration that such a high and such a fantastic win at Man City was followed up in the manner that it was.
Well, yeah, you look at it and on the face of it, a home game. Okay, no crowd against West Ham, who most people's perception is that they are struggling. But the reality is that they've had one bad game and they didn't do too bad against Arsenal, who themselves were going quite well. And they've had a magnificent result against Wolves. So, how do you sort of make a judgment? But you're expecting Leicester to... Listen, you go and beat Man City away, you expect to beat West Ham at home. Simple as that, don't you? So you can beat around the bushes in whatever way. But it's a different proposition. A totally different kettle of fish, as it turns out. West Ham were coming into it with a little bit of a, bounce in their stride as well, weren't they? And it was always going to be a more difficult game, I think, than most people expected. However, you didn't foresee it quite turning out as it did. And perhaps the players, I don't know, they haven't said it themselves publicly, and Brendan hasn't really levelled the accusation at them, that they were sort of underprepared or less than focused. He's just mentioned a few reasons there. They weren't aggressive enough. West Ham were more physical, just basically seemed more up for it, and you can't really afford for that to happen. The passing was off, etc., etc., etc. But I suppose as a coach, you try and find reasons why. How can you stop that happening again? And I don't know, the best way is probably to get into the players' head, develop that mental approach, that ruthlessness that the top sides have. Have that, like I say, practice makes perfect. It's getting that consistency and churning out. That's what makes you a better player. So, for instance, I was always in the lower leagues for many years because I kept making the same mistakes. Eventually, I ironed out those mistakes to a point, and I went up the leagues. And I wasn't necessarily any better technically. I was just better at applying my attributes, and I think Leicester can do that collectively, as part of their development. Having said all this, right, it sounds all a bit negative at the moment. 3 wins out of 4, not bad. If they continue that form, they'll have more points than when they won the league in 2015, 16.
I know you're getting on that.
Well, there's always due one Ricky at least, aren't I?
Do you know what, though? You look at it.
3 out of 4, if they carry on that.
It's a very encouraging start. Let's not take away from that. And we've got, a very young team. Don't forget that these lads are learning still. And it's a development progress. As long as they don't keep making these silly errors and... there's only 1 or 2, and just for me, that first goal definitely gave West Ham that foothold in the game, and but
Yeah,
still,
it's key.
but yet, they've got to learn from it. They will, and I think they've learned before. They've been in a position like this before, and it hurts. It hurts us. I hated losing.
Well, how did you respond to a result like that against a team at home that you would expect to have
You've
been?
got to be strong-minded. It's a mental thing, and it's your own performance. Sometimes you've got to look at yourself and say, right, come on, let's dig in now. And
Well, Villa's going to be a tough game.
that is,
isn't it?
Oh, jeez.
After
I'll
last
tell you what,
night,
they
you know,
look fantastic.
what's happening there?
There's a big improvement there. You're right, of course. But every game's a challenge and a big game, and there's so many different things to work on and look at, and different shapes.
But
And,
you have to treat it like that as
you
well,
have
though,
to.
don't you? I mean,
a lot of it is for a manager now. It's difficult. It's a mind games. Klopp, you never thought you thought he was indestructible. And yet 7 goals for him that's a strange one. It really is.
As players, I would say, irrespective of eras, times, whatever. I know the game's probably more technical now, but going in now, you read situations as it is. Like Villa, the dynamics of the game have changed now. As you go along, Villa are going to have that little bit more confidence now because of what they've achieved. They've got the longest unbeaten run, haven't they, in the Premier League? I think on the back end of last season, they're unbeaten 6, unbeaten in 4 now, is it?
3 now. So.
3 now. They've only played 3, haven't they? Sorry. So, they're going into that game. So, irrespective of outwardly, a lot of people go, well, Leicester will beat Villa because, what happened last year. But they're going to have to really dig in and perhaps won't be able to play their free-flowing football. They might have to knuckle down first and foremost, out-fight and out-battle them. Earn that right, as is often said, then go and do this stuff. They might not be able to play their lovely, structured, balanced football from the start. And you've got to be adaptable, as a group of players, and have which is that flexibility to play in different ways, which is what Brendan Rodgers is trying to get players to be capable of.
Well, that Aston Villa game is, of course, after the international break. A number of Leicester stars going off to represent their countries, including Harvey Barnes, which for a first, hopefully, we'll see him in action for England. But he gave his post-match reaction yesterday after the game to LCFC TV.
Harvey, such a high last week, disappointing one today.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've had such a good start, first 3 games. Of course, today's disappointing. We know we weren't quite at it today, and obviously they made it very difficult, so definitely want to learn from.
As a team, you've created and scored so many goals so far this season. Is it credit to West Ham that wasn't the case today?
Partly, yeah, and partly down to ourselves, I think. I think on the ball we weren't at the levels that we were in the last 3 games. That showed in the chances we created. We saw what they did to Wolves the other week, so we knew that they had a goal threat, and that's shown today.
You thought you got one at the end, unfortunately choked off?
Yeah, obviously, VAR, you never know, do you? So, it would have been just a little bit extra, but it didn't change the result, does it? So, disappointing day.
Disappointing, but still a positive start, 3 wins from 4.
Definitely. Like we said, I don't think we'd won 3 games at the beginning of the season before, so that's definitely a positive. We wanted to carry that on today, of course, but disappointing one, but we're going to learn from it. Obviously got the break now, regroup and then go again after.
For you personally, an even better start with the England call-up. How did you hear about it, and what was your kind of initial feeling?
Yeah, no, the gaffer here pulled me after training and let me know, so obviously I was delighted. Just that excited then all week. Obviously I've been focusing on this game now, but now this is done. Obviously disappointed, but something to look forward to next week.
Yes, congratulations to Harvey Barnes and best of luck to him. Let's hope we do, as I say, see him in an England shirt this week. We'll talk a little bit more about Harvey Barnes and those internationals in just a bit. But last kind of word, really, I guess, Matt, on the game yesterday and what would have been a good goal for Harvey, a great goal, in fact, a great team goal to end the game.
Well,
It summed up the day, though, didn't it?
It did pretty much, as did the missed opportunity with Jamie Vardy, only minutes before in the left-hand channel. 9 times out of 10, he tucks them away, doesn't he? Who knows? Might have made it semi-interesting, but probably too little, too late. But yeah, Harvey's goal was what he tried a dozen times or so before in the game, and hadn't really got anywhere close to being effective. Pulling it off. It was one of those talking about one of those days. Yeah, everything was, passes were getting cut out too easily, and they were a little bit weak, and there was lack of, accuracy basically about their execution, and it just looked off it, didn't they? Just looked off.
Funny
it
sometimes
all
how
round.
things go against you, and they really everything seems to go against you. You look back at it, and we didn't have an ounce of luck, and okay, you make your own luck, don't you? But we didn't. There was some things that, like you say, that Vardy chance, he'd have finished that. There was other things that happened, and you think, so unlucky. But
I do think there was an element that the players might not agree or whatever, or might not accept it. But I do think there was an element that they just thought that their flow of football was just going to slip back into gear, rather than making sure. Like, because West Ham were up
maybe
for
it was an
weren't they?
overconfident thing they had, and
West Ham were up for it. Win that battle first, win that fight first, and then.
But the one thing that Leicester fans have got to look at now is that they've got to be patient. We've got a structure in the club that's in place, that's fantastic football that we're playing. The training ground, you look at the quality of the players coming in. It's exciting times at Leicester, and yet, okay, we're all on a downer, but looking forward, the future is bright. It really is. And I said to Batesy on yesterday about a team that I kind of looked at some of the players. I'm being a bit silly here, looking ahead and thinking, we've got look at the whole squad as a whole. Will you pick your 11 out of that? It'd be interesting. You've got some terrific players, and it's exciting going forward for Leicester.
Absolutely. Right, let's move on from the game by hearing from Steve George on Facebook, who sums it up quite nicely. He says, we were outplayed by a better team, just like what we did to Manchester City. That's obviously on the day. It's just one result to chalk off. Let's move on and do better in the next game.
Yeah, well, you can't do a lot else, can you? Not going to mope about it. But
no, exactly.
Hopefully, I'm not going to say that learn lessons from it again, but just move on in a positive manner. But don't forget what's got you the results in the first place.
Well, that's what we'll do then. So we'll start with our extra time teasers, the first couple of the evening. Walshy, as ever, looks delighted with that.
I'm ready.
Well, Walshy, do you want pot one or do you want pot two?
Pot one.
Pot one, okay. First question for you then. What year did Jamie Vardy announce his retirement from international football?
That's 2 or 3 years ago, isn't it? 3 years ago. 2017 or 18. What did I go?
Well, Matt has a chance to steal if you get it wrong.
Okay,
so.
I will go 18.
Correct.
Well done, son.
Well
Beautiful.
done. And I think that's your first point of the season as well.
Oh, thanks, Batesy. I feel great.
Yeah, there you go. So well done,
the
Walshy.
build up to the World Cup, wasn't it?
Well, yours is technically related.
So you'd have
to
stole that off me then, Matt. You'd have got that, wouldn't you?
Oh well, if it wasn't one, it was the other. I'm the same as you. Well done, Will. Fair play.
How many Leicester players, as Leicester players, went to the 2018 World Cup?
Oh, how many? Oh, it's a slightly different type of question.
It is. That's the
Lots.
beauty of pot one and pot two. Yeah.
Lots. There you go.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Come on, let's.
You got the panic up there. Right, come on. Right.
I don't think it's worth trying to work it out.
What?
Well, you can try. Go on.
Oh, well, that is it. Well, I'm going. Ah. 10.
Unbelievable.
That's just, it's a guess.
Unbelievable.
It's a guess. Good guess,
It's
though.
a
Great
really
guess.
good guess.
That's good. That's good. That's
That
impressive.
wasn't even that much of a guess. I rattled
That's
a few
impressive,
in my head.
yeah.
Well
Can
done.
we name them?
I could hear him.
Yes. Well, go on, between you.
No,
Can
no,
you name
that's
them?
what I mean. That's what we
Yeah.
should do.
Yeah.
Right.
Get involved on Facebook
Chilwell,
and Twitter.
Maguire.
as well.
Who? Cheesewell.
Chilwell.
Chilwell wasn't.
Chilwell wasn't in
Before
there,
that.
was he? No.
Oh, you're sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Maguire.
Correct.
Schmeichel.
Correct. You're missing an England player. Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy was there, so that's 3 that we're on.
Do you know what? Of course, Vardy was in the World Cup, wasn't he? I was thinking
Basically,
he
leave
pulled
that.
before.
You shouldn't have brought
Sorry,
that.
yeah.
Come
on in. Yes,
So go on, you've got
just
Vardy,
rattle through 'em,
Maguire,
I'll be too
Schmeichel,
long.
the Nigerian trio of
Yeah.
Wilfred and Ndidi, Kelechi Iheanacho and Ahmed Musa.
Musa, I had him.
Musa, yeah.
2 Portuguese players, Ricardo Pereira and Adrian Silva. Shinji Okazaki was there with Japan. Johan Beneloan with Tunisia. And obviously Kasper Schmeichel as well. So that was the 10.
Multiple 10.
You've done
You
well
did
there.
very, very well there. So that's a point for both of you to start
point.
with trivia. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sorry, mate. We've got our Who's the Fox graphic up next. So well done to those of you that were guessing along. Now you've got another chance to play along. Don't guess straight away, you two, if you know it. So we'll put the graphic on the screen now for you. I'll turn this around so you two can see it.
Thank you.
Who's the missing fox?
Can't see it. Oh, I can see that. I know that.
Yeah, don't tell us yet though, Walsh. You can tell us in a little bit.
I can tell straight away.
Tell with them quads.
Yeah. That's what I can tell by.
Right, yeah, have a guess on social media. If
I can tell by his calves.
Got an
That's
idea.
the one thing that I know exactly, because I'll tell you in a minute why.
Okay. Sounds quite disturbing, Walsh.
It is.
We'll leave it from that.
It is.
Don't go there, mate.
Have a guess on social media if you've got an idea who that missing fox is. We'll reveal it in a little bit
You know it, don't you?
later. We said we talk about Harvey Barnes and England and what an achievement that is. Firstly, let alone being called up, if he can make an appearance for England, that'll be brilliant.
Oh, amazing news for Harvey. And then, I think it's about time. It's justified, really. We'll have to see how much opportunity he gets. But a lot of players these days are getting a chance, aren't they? They're being drafted into the squad, getting a little bit of experience, whatever, and he's integrating them into the environment. And lots of young players are getting opportunities early on. And I think ultimately that would be a good thing for England. But that there are a multitude of players that he can sort of choose from now, isn't it? And that wasn't the case so long ago, was it? And I still question England's ability to actually go and win tournaments and play at the very top level, but I don't think they're getting. They're on the right road. I think they're on the right course. And for Harvey to be included in that, I think it's justifiable, isn't it? Because Leicester have been in and around the top end of the Premier League for a consistent amount of time now. Harvey was a big part of that last year. Like everyone else, he had a little bit of dip in and out. And this season, he started again strong. And he's one of those players. I thought he was disappointed yesterday. He's an honest lad, and I'm sure he'll say the same about that. But by and large, he's been a real revelation, hasn't he? Brendan Rodgers calls it. He's got the makings of a superstar. And Brendan, I know sometimes you say things or you get misquoted, and you don't necessarily 100% mean what you say, but that's a big statement, isn't it, to say that, And I think he's right. The way he terrorises some defenders, if he can take that up, again, we're talking about levels and consistency. He has the capability. It's just making that happen more regularly. And it'd be disappointing as anyone yesterday, because I thought
he was still one of the better players.
He underperformed, but you always,
he did underperform.
When he gets the ball, you're thinking maybe something's going to happen. Don't you?
He deserves everything he gets, though. I mean, I think it's great for club and country. This, I think it will work well. I think his development plan and his pathway is going to where to that next level now, and it can only benefit Leicester. In especially with his confidence, you imagine that if he can get a run out and do well.
Just saying the word, just wait for it to properly click.
Yeah,
because there's glimpses, there's regular glimpses. If he could get that to click over like a 5-6 game period, all sorts could happen.
He did things yesterday, coming off in that pocket, and we said early on he looked, and he does it really well. And there was once he went by somebody like he wasn't even there at the byline. He does that run regular, and we got a penalty. Pratt got a penalty. Was it a penalty for Vardy or whatever? And he set goals up in other games, and he is tearing people apart. So he's really doing well. There's one thing that everyone keeps saying about goals, but he'll get them.
Yeah,
Starting to get them.
They're
coming slowly. you know, he's not an out-and-out centre forward, is he? Who should be getting 15 goals a season. He's a wide player.
He's capable of that.
But he's capable of coming in, and that's what he's doing well. He's starting to think and starting to play and starting to cause problems for a lot of teams. He's clever. He's come on leaps and bounds and deserves everything he gets.
Well, that's Harvey Barnes hopefully making an appearance for England during this international break.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? 3 opportunities,
Two
got half a chance.
Two players that have made appearances for the Three Lions while playing with Leicester are James Maddison and Jamie Vardy. They're both involved in nominations for Premier League awards for September. So Jamie Vardy and Timothy Castagne have been nominated for Player of the Month. Brendan Rodgers has been nominated for Manager of the Month, and James Maddison has been nominated for Goal of the Month for his strike at the Etihad. Who has what chance of winning what award?
They've all got a chance for me. All of them. They
I
really
think Maddison's got the best
Maddison's,
chance.
well, what a finish. What
I
a goal.
can't think of a better goal than that off the top of my head. I'm sure there'll be a few rivals.
There's some good contenders. I think Marcus Rashford's solo goal against Brighton is up there.
Yeah, different type of goal.
Oh, there's been some terrific goals, but that finish from Maddison's, it's got
decent,
every chance.
I think
every chance.
I mean, we're probably looking, even with Vardy, I mean, four penalties he has, hasn't he? But I mean, whichever, he's tucked them away.
Oh, yeah, and tucked them out in a way, in a fashion, yeah.
Another level, wasn't it?
But his penalties they're so good, aren't they?
Yeah, top quality, yeah. But I suppose with Calvert-Lewin, he'd be disappointed if he don't get a shout as well, wouldn't he?
Yeah, of course, yeah, he'd be right in there. But, you know, looking at Vardy, he you know, you think if it'd always be the number one penalty take for us, you know, he'd have had a lot more goals, wouldn't he? You know, I remember in the 2016, there was Mahrez were having a few. He missed a couple, and it was shared about. So, you know, there's 3 or 4 awards that we could clean up with.
I'll read out the short lists of those that each of the players or managers are going up against. So Brendan Rodgers is up against Carlo Ancelotti, Jurgen Klopp, and Dean Smith of Aston Villa. The Player of the Month, Castagne and Vardy are up against James Rodriguez, Sadio Mane, Tariq Lamptey, Harry Kane, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, as you've said, and Patrick Bamford. And then the goals, we've mentioned the Marcus Rashford one against Brighton. Riyad Mahrez's strike against Leicester from the corner that gave them the lead is one of them. Mateus Pereira's goal for West Brom against Everton. Reece James, his strike away at Brighton is there. Mo Salah's goal against Leeds. Jack Harrison against Liverpool, and Aubameyang against Fulham. So Reece James' strike was a good one, as was the Rashford one. But you'd look at Maddison's strike
Reece James was just
I think Maddison
was a great strike, but just a smash, wasn't it? But it was the accuracy, the technique from Maddison for me.
Do you take into account the importance of games and the importance of times that goals are scored, or do you look at it?
I think that comes into it because
he'd only just come on. He'd not been on long. I don't think.
Yeah, the sort of magnitude of the game, I suppose. Yeah, it does. You know, and the time of it and the effect it has on it, because you have to bear in mind, maybe not in that instance, but that sealed signed, sealed, and delivered the game for Leicester.
And could he have been the difference between us and West Ham? Maddison, when you think big player coming back into things, he orchestrates a lot. He could have been that key to unlocking that West Ham defence. He could have been, and he probably would have been. So you look at it, and but like you say, technique-wise, and you know what, you couldn't put it in the top court. You know, it's like post. It was
different level,
terrific.
But Brendan's got to have a shout, hasn't he?
He has. Dean Smith and Rodgers, I think, will be
it's just
very
for
close.
September, isn't it?
Yeah, so
it's for September.
So
of course.
Leicester top of the league.
Yeah.
You know, how can you?
He should get it.
How can you beat that? You know, with Ancelotti, okay, a bit obvious, but Everton with how they've started, but the signings they've made. Leicester have made signs, but not to that degree.
Do you think they'll feel that if we give it Maddison and Brendan Rodgers, should we just share it out a bit and give it to someone else?
Well, voting
does that
closed
happen or not?
No reason why Brendan shouldn't get it, though, should he?
Voting closed for those at 6 p.m. So the moment pretty much we came on air this evening. So maybe there'll be some sway from the weekend's results, although there shouldn't be, obviously, because it was September. Nods there are nominees for Castagne, Vardy, Rodgers and Maddison. Hopefully we see at least one winner in there.
They've all done exceptionally well, Daniel, haven't they?
They certainly have, Matthew, yes. Wesley Fofana, we didn't see him in action yesterday, of course. He was on the bench for Leicester City, the new signing that came in signing for the Foxes. He spoke to LCFC TV after securing his move on Friday. Hello, Wesley. Welcome to Leicester City Football Club. How happy are you to be sat there right now?
Thank you for welcoming me to the club. I'm very, very happy to be here and very proud as well.
What does it mean to you to sign for this football club?
It means a lot. It's a very big English club. I followed the team for a while, especially when they were crowned champions in 2015-16. For me, it gives me great pride to be here.
How much do you know about Leicester and the Premier League as well?
I know a lot about the Premier League. I followed it since I was very young. Leicester I followed since they were crowned champions and would often watch their games.
There were a number of clubs that reportedly wanted your signature. So what made you choose Leicester City?
I chose Leicester pretty much straight away, despite other interest. It's the club I wanted to go to the most. They have the best projects in place, and the whole club has been very welcoming.
Yeah, that's new signing Wesley Fofana speaking to LCFC TV. Matt, obviously, as I said, we didn't get a chance to see him in action yesterday. We did see another debutant, though, in action. Obviously, Under came on for his debut in the second half. We'll talk about Fofana first, though. I know, obviously, you won't know too much about him, but what do you make of the signing?
No, it all sounds good on the face of it, doesn't it? You know, I think the amount... Well, there was interest from other parties, we're led to believe. Not sure exactly who that was. But for Leicester and supposedly other teams willing to part with that much money in terms of the transfer fee for Fofana at 19 suggests that you've got some player on your hands. It's a hell of a lot of money, even in today's market, to gamble on potential and a prospect. You know, he's played a certain amount of games, not that many, in truth, but his tender age, he's not going to have. But he's, with his performances, he must have shown a hell of a lot of quality to have people noticing him that quickly, and to bring him in and the vibes you get, the way he talks. Via a translator, admittedly, but he's saying the right things. He's quite purposeful. He seems ready and ambitious to get involved in the mix. Not someone who's just come for the bit of a ride and come for the experience. He's come to make an impact. And I get the feeling that Brendan Rodgers is ready to put him in. Pretty sharpish as well.
I'll tell you what, let's hear what Brendan Rodgers has to say about Wesley Fofana, because he was asked about him.
Yeah, it's a brilliant signing for us. I think that we said at the start of the window that we wanted quality, and obviously as we draw towards the end of the window, I think the three players that we've signed is that, and that's a huge credit to Lee Congerton, our head of recruitment, and his staff, because they've been monitoring these players for a long time, and there's a lot of great work and a lot of hard work and persistence has gone into getting these players in, and the likes of Wesley is like you say, is a 19-year-old with limited experience as such, but when you see him play, he looks like he's played for a lot longer. He's the type I like. He's very aggressive in his defending. He's super quick, and in the British game, he's good in the air. He could get fantastic leap, and you need to have that when you play in this country. So yeah, we're really excited about developing his talent, and along with the other players, it's been a really good window for us.
Just listening into that, Walsh, I'm sure there's some bits that prick your ears, particularly the bit where Brendan talks about him being an aggressive defender, a quick defender.
I looked at him warming up on the touchline, and he certainly looks the part from what I've seen. And he looks, he's really tall. He is 6'3", aggressive, as Brendan said. Very good header of a ball, I believe. And he sounds the complete player, doesn't he? And so it'll be very interesting now. He'll obviously be getting him ready. The good thing is, I think, with this window now, with the international break, that he's got a few weeks to work on him and get him to settle in and get an understanding of his position. And he can play in a 2 or a 3, as we know. So it's going to be interesting. Who is going to be? Your number one is Evans. For me, you could imagine Fofana and Evans playing together in a back four. So and Chu, obviously, you've got three fantastic centre backs there now. So there's cover now, it really sounds.
Don't forget Wesley.
Wesley? No, that's Wesley. Sorry, no. So it's
sorry, Morgan.
Morgan, yeah, Wesley. Yeah. So there's competition for that position, but I think he'll be in the squad and in the team very, very soon. As you look at that next game, who's it, Villa? He could be making his debut. So onwards and upwards. I think he's made some terrific, three great signings this season. I really do.
Yeah, well, obviously they're important, aren't they? To bring people in when you've got a campaign ahead of you like this one is. It's going to be shorter than ever, but there's going to be so many games for Leicester. Yeah,
they need that strength in depth. It's as simple as that, isn't it? Especially for the campaign that Leicester have got, the Europa League, and they hope to go deep into that. And the squad needs developing, doesn't it, really? And you look at them, again, on the face of it, all the right things have been said about the signings, but you always expect that. They're not going to come in and be negative, are you? But the attributes that Fofana seemingly possesses, key to a centre-half, and always nice to have that blessing of extreme pace as a defender. Unfortunately, I never knew what it was like. Walshy did to a lesser extent.
Well,
but if you've got that, can get you out of a whole world of trouble. If you have got that pace to recover, hopefully you know your position well enough not to have to rely on that pace. But it's so useful, and if he's got that naturally. With the other attributes that have been mentioned, I'm sure he'll do fine.
The Europa League draw, obviously, Walshy, very quickly, because we are nearing the end of the show already. Are you happy with the three teams the Foxes got?
Yeah. I said the other day that I'm confident we can win that league. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I obviously, I don't know too much about the teams, but. It's great. It's great to be involved, and I'm quite. You look at that Arsenal game in the League Cup. That I'm glad that's out of the way in a sense now, because there's certain things we can concentrate on, give a good go at now, and it's great that we can. There's the FA Cup that will be around the obviously Europa League now. So I'm confident that they can do well in this tournament.
What do you reckon, Matt? Probably top in the group, I guess, will be the aim.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah, and I think. It's well within Leicester's rights to be thinking that way. All due respect to the other three teams, but Leicester probably playing at the highest level, the higher profile club, certainly in recent times, and no reason why not. Yeah, they've acquitted themselves well, albeit with a largely different team and squad in the Champions League, so they know. Some of those players are still left over from those times. They know what it takes to do well in Europe, how to go about it. And it seems strange to say, but I have to agree with Walshy there. When they're saying to go out the Carabao Cup. It's funny how times change, but it could almost be a bit of a blessing, really. To give them a chance to really focus on doing well in the Europa League, because when you've got so much going on. It ends up a bit of a scramble sometimes, and you see the performances. You can't. We're talking about levels of consistency. You can't expect that for a nigh on 60 game season, really, and that's what it will be if they're in all competitions. It might be not far off that anyway. If Leicester do go well in the Europa League, but to give themselves the best chance. It's probably a semi-blessing.
And did you go to any of the away Champions League games, Matt?
Yeah.
I didn't go to any. I didn't. And I was, really wanting to go to one of these games.
Yeah, that was.
And now,
part of the fun.
Now with COVID, I'm not going to get an opportunity to go to these.
Mate,
Theo, my old mate at AEK Athens as well. You played for them, I think, once.
He's moving in higher circles now.
He's president of Greece or something. I don't know. Yeah, he's
he won't talk to us anymore, mate.
Yeah, he's an MP, a member of Parliament. But no, Portugal, Greece, Ukraine. I think it's a great draw. I really do.
Right, let's look at the general wider Premier League and the results that took place at the weekend, because there were some very, very strange results, particularly the two that took place after the one here at King Power Stadium. Manchester United 1, Tottenham Hotspur 6, Aston Villa 7, Liverpool 2 were just two of the results that took place yesterday. And there's been so many goals. There's been, I think, 3 5-2 results. There's been that 7-2 yesterday, a 6-1. I still don't think there's been any 0-0s. Off the top of my head, there was a 4-0, a 3-1, a 4-2 all at the weekend.
You're averaging 30 goals every
round of games.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is, Walshy?
Well, my belief, and you can laugh at this, but
30, yeah, probably more than that, is it? I don't know.
Yeah, more probably. Yeah. It's a hell of a lot of goals, and my belief is that there's no pressure on these players at the minute. You play in front of a Liverpool Cop or a intimidating place that you go to, and some players, don't like it. Some do. Some thrive from it. I need a crowd to get me going. I just feel that a lot of these players are kind of relaxed. They're not bothered. There's no one getting on the backs, and it's a bit different. The environment's different, but. Is it the quality that there is? Is it the bad defending? I don't know. At times it is. The game is so fast now, and how many penalties have there been? It's really escalated. Is it VAR trouble, or I just can't put my finger on it. But for me, the surroundings, the arena, like a gladiator goes into battle, it's just not there, and. We get up. You get that adrenaline rush. I don't know if these lads are getting that. You score a goal. Is it that big of a adrenaline rush these days now in these circumstances? So that's my reasons. But
Well, I can tell you, there's in the 38 games that have taken place so far this season, there's been 144 goals. At an average of 3.79 per game. Now that is comfortably more than any of the seasons previously. Ever, as well. It's comfortably more by pretty much a whole goal in terms of.
There has to be a reason. It's not just coincidence, is it? It's got to be, to do with the lack of crowds and
lack of pre-season, maybe.
I don't know. I mean, what she was saying, reasons there, and again, I agree with some of their arguments for and against. Goals going in, really. So there's a sort of almost a contradiction at times.
I agree.
But there's got to be a semi-scientific reason for it, really. Looking at, because a lot of people were predicting and saying, the away team. I don't know what the ratio is, but it might be beneficial to the away teams because they haven't got the screaming tens of thousands supporting the home team, and it's more of the technical teams are going to flourish more, but
there's a lot of
attacking.
Has that
necessarily been the case? I'm not sure.
There's a lot of counter-attacking great football, though, isn't there? When you look through most teams, there's such pace in a lot of players these days. I don't know.
I thought initially when it came into operation from the restart, as it's called.
It's a polar opposite, though, isn't it, to what it was when Project Restart came?
Yeah, but I thought, maybe,
true.
Yeah, but that's sort of an initial reaction, isn't it? I think they were sort of coming to terms with that, weren't they? They'd been off for a while, so there'd been that sort of pre-season, effectively, wasn't it? Coming back into it, and there was excitement about getting involved again, but there wasn't that buzz and expectancy of a new season as such, and. It was all a bit tame, wasn't it? Then it picked up a bit, didn't it? 3 or 4 games into the restart. But I just think, straight away, I thought there'd be a tendency for players to get trapped into that sort of training ground, practice match mentality world. Do you know what I mean? Because there's because they're familiar with the training ground. There's no crowd. Sort of even semi-subconsciously, but. To play, or centre halves, I thought might try things, or midfielders might try things where, a bit of a risky pass, or a centre half might try and twist his way out of trouble rather than kicking it out of play, because he hasn't got the expectancy of that or the scrutiny of that crowd.
Yeah.
Thinking if he messes up here, it's going to cost us a goal. They mess up now. Actually, the reality is. I shouldn't have taken it easy. It's a Premier League game, but they don't seem as focused. Or maybe I'd love to know what the actual truth is. We're just surmising here.
We are really.
Maybe players are taking more.
Give it a few more games and let's see how it goes. But I can still keep.
You can't see it. Surely it's not going to stay.
Maybe players are taking more risks in an attacking sense. Like I'll have a shot from distance now because if I miss, I'm not going to get booed by the crowd.
Or Bielsa's five up front.
Yeah, well, I might try that outlandish pass, or I'm going to whip that cross in when the percentage is maybe. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? There's a whole host of the goalkeepers.
Maybe we'll know.
Are they too concerned about the ball at their feet and not at their hands? I don't know.
Maybe we'll know. Like later on in the season, players might come out and
someone will come
hopefully
up with
give
an
a
official
reason
theory,
why.
Won't they?
Yeah. Right. Let's get the answer then to our "Who's the Fox" graphic. We'll get a reminder of it on your screen now. We've had a number of guesses in on social media. A couple of people saying Steve Walsh. I'm sure you're not too pleased with that.
No, that's Muzzy. That is without a doubt.
Scott Clement says Tony Cottee ? Bert on Twitter got it correct. Go on, Walshy.
It's Muzzy because I can tell by his calves. I'm telling you, he wears these stretched jeans now that tight, and he's got real big calves, honestly. And I can see from that shadow that it looks different there.
He's got bigger calves than thighs, Muzzy.
No, but he has. And honestly, he's like a machine. You want to see him now? He's still the same.
Well, there you go. Muzzy was our Who's the Fox.
I thought you got it wrong because you said to me, you know this better.
Oh, I knew that straight away.
You both had it.
I thought you were trying to overthink it there. Well,
well done to Bert on Twitter for getting that one correct.
Got that wrong, we'd be in trouble, mate, wouldn't we?
So you got that right. So that's 2 from 2, Walshy, for you tonight. Let's see if you can make it 4 from 4. Basically, the last 2 extra time teasers are Europa League related.
Don't push it. No chance.
Yeah. So I made notes ahead of the special Matchday -2 show that we had at the weekend. I made about a sentence for each team that Leicester could possibly have got in the group. So, for example, they're from Spain, they've won this competition that many times. So they're all a load of clues like that. So you've got to guess the team from the clues I give. Tell you what, Walshy, you look very confused.
Yeah, I've not listened properly.
So Matt can go first, and you can try and work it out from
teams,
that.
To be honest.
So, Matt, you were pot 2, weren't you? So, known as the Yellow Submarine from the east of Spain, this team were semi-finalists of the Europa League in 2004, 2011 and 2016, and they were knocked out by fellow Spaniards Valencia in the quarter-finals last season. Do you get the idea of it, Walshy?
I think so.
Villarreal. Get in.
Correct.
Well done, Matthew.
Walshy, this German side won the competition in 1988, and they finished runners-up in the 2002 Champions League when a famous Zinedine Zidane goal helped Real Madrid beat them 2-1 in Glasgow.
Zinedine, just repeat that.
So this German side won the Europa League or UEFA Cup in 1988, and in the 2002 Champions League final, Real Madrid won 2-1 thanks to a famous Zinedine Zidane volley. You'll have definitely seen it.
Oh, come on.
Can you steal it, Matt?
I've had them down. Oh, no.
Time.
Oh, yeah, go on. No, it's gonna bug me. I do know it.
You may as well make a guess.
You might as well guess a German side.
No, because I know it's not anyone I'm thinking of.
Bayer Leverkusen.
Leverkusen, yes.
Leverkusen were the answer to that one. We've got to be quick with these last 2 because we're running out of time.
I did know that.
Walshy, you can go again now. So, from the city of San Sebastian in Spain, they came 6th in La Liga last season, and they've been previously managed by John Toshak, Chris Coleman, and most recently David Moyes. And former Man City midfielder David Silva now plays there.
Not Atletico Bilbao. Oh, come on.
These are good little questions, these, aren't they?
Yeah, that's a good one. Oh, come on.
Don't.
Is it Bilbao? Bilbao, no?
Oh, Sociedad, isn't it?
Sociedad.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it.
Athletic Sociedad.
I didn't know it.
Real Sociedad. Well stolen, Matt.
I didn't know that.
That was cheeky, that one. Right, finally, this side from the Russian capital are currently 3rd in the Russian league after 10 games. They won this competition in 2005 by beating Sporting Lisbon 3-1. Go on, Matthew.
Moscow Dynamo. No, it's the other one, isn't it?
Locomotive. What?
So I think there's 3 Moscow teams. You
CSKA,
said
is it?
2 of the 3. It is CSKA Moscow.
Oh,
Is it?
So neither of you get the
I knew I
point.
should have gone with that.
I've lost again, have I?
You've lost
well
again,
done.
I'm afraid.
Great
Wolsey.
stuff.
So
I
Matt's
love it.
They're the bigger team out of the lot.
I gave a better
aren't they?
effort there, though.
Matt's finished with 3 points. Wolsey, you've finished with 1, so well done to
Average effort there,
both
isn't it?
of you there. It's international break, so we won't be here for a couple of... Well,
Keep
we've got
smiling, everyone.
a
Keep your
week
chins
on
up. That's it.
Thursday for match day -2.
Can I still text you, Batesy?
If you want to text me, Matt, you can text me.
But when did Dan turn into Batesy anyway? We're both calling you Batesy. Long-term friendship.
Well,
Daniel.
thanks, Matty, and thanks, Walshy. I've
Cheers,
given you both
Batesy,
your
lads.
nicknames
Cheers,
as well. And thank you, everyone, for listening this evening as well.